Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be talking about what I personally believe should be in the new DLC for Destiny 2 called Final Shape. First, I believe that it should have a coherent story. I say this because in the last DLC that came out, Lightfall, it was okay. The gameplay was great. They wanted to make it like an action film, I think they said. So they got that down very great. The thing I personally think that didn't go so well was the story. Mainly to the point where the whole like MacGuffin of the story was the veil, and we had no real answer for it until later. If not start the answer, I've not really kept up to it, so sorry if I got that bit of information wrong. I'm not a Wikipedia. But the point is, it was not in the DLC, which is a massive mistake because everyone was like, "What's the DLC?" And yeah, you can see where the issues went with that. So if they're going to do the story right, they need to make sure everything that's in the story or is established from before, if they bring it in, or in the story, needs to be answered correctly, and not really any answers left that need to be answered. Sure, you can have some things like, oh, what's this and this, and they can explain it in different like DLCs or seasons. That's what cliffhangers and secrets are for. But don't do it in a way, like the Veil, that makes it feel like you're leaving out a very important piece of the story because you didn't know. So that's something they really need to sort of the DLC, especially considering this may be the end of the Lion Dance saga. So they really need to get this together. Make sure they understand it. The next thing I want it to be in this is be able to find more exotics, and to be able to there'll be more exotics and to find more exotics. So what I mean by this is, in recent DLCs and seasons, the armor for most part is locked behind legendary lost sectors, which is, I mean, sure, it's great for all the hardcore players, but for people who, like me, who play the game more casually these days, it doesn't really work. So I don't mind them doing a couple, because then that gives incentive to do that. That's fine. But they should also put some in the random loophole. Or if something along the lines, they could also split them in the legendary set, but they also have a very rare chance to drop from exotic engrams. Just something to make it so the common player can get them, but also the people who want to work hard, or the hardcore players basically, can still also play the game the way they want to. So don't always cater to the common player. I don't know the common player. The player that doesn't play so often. But also you want them to keep them along. So come on, throw us a bone. Along with that, also I want more exotics from. This is more of a Destiny issue and whole this, but it'd be great if we can do this in the DLC. More exotics in general. So more exotic armor, maybe because we always get like one set or maybe two sets, pieces of armor for each character, each subclass, not subclass, classes. And then we get like 5 weapons, which is great, and they're all like tied to exotic quest, which is fine. But I miss the days back in early Destiny 1, or back in the early days of Destiny 2 and then Destiny 1, where you could work on a Nightfall or just play the game, and you randomly just get an exotic, and you're like, yeah, I got the exotic. Because yeah, but I'm not saying get rid of all quests, because some things deserve some story behind them, and also whatever. Because some quests are quite cool, but I just don't think every new exotic should be tied behind a quest. Make some of them, was called, free to get for players who don't have the time or patience for quests, like going into Gambit and playing like 50 games to try and get enough kills, or the requirements. Just let them have it. So that's my my little gripe with the exotics. Another thing that I feel like they should add is a bit more secrets. So what I mean is, like other games, other DLCs, they have like a secret here and a secret there. They don't really answer them. Sometimes they're an exotic quest. Sometimes they're like a secret mission that gives you an exotic, a bit like the Whisper of the Worm and many other missions that I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Now, they kind of still do that with the Excalibur. But so yeah, the Excalibur is a really good example. They can mix the whole like ritual missions with that because I feel like that would work. I feel like that kind of has taken a bit of a back seat. I feel like it should be used a bit more. So yeah, that's that one for myself. Yes, if they're going to use Cayde 6, they need to use them properly. What I mean is, they can't just like say he's back. He does like a couple of things that only are there for the plot, and then he's gone, or he might come back in a later season or DLC. Like if he's staying, he needs to have a proper story. He needs to reconnect with the Vanguard and all that sort. Or if he is completely staying to the DLC and he's a one and done thing, like he's a nice little like thing for the end of the story, then they need to make it so it's a proper farewell as well. They can't just go, he's here and he's done his thing, I'm going to my people now. They need to actually do him right. So if they do him wrong in any way, I'm not going to be happy. I will not be happy at all. But at the same time, I do hope he will be in more stories because that'd be just cool to have Cayde back. Who doesn't want Cayde back? But if the story doesn't allow it, then what are you going to do? Speaking of characters, I feel like if this is going to be the end of the story, I feel like every major character, if not the majority of them, who's been involved with the story, so Crow, Zavala, Marasov, you name it, who are alive, Seraphine even maybe, or Eris as well, should be involved in the story in some sort of way. So it's they're part of the story, they should be there to wrap it up. If they're not there, I expect it in the next couple of seasons, or I think we call now the episodes, for their stories to be wrapped up there, or at least explain why they weren't in the actual events of this. Because I feel like if it's just us in a world with a couple of like the main characters like Okora and maybe Zavala and then the Cayde, it just won't feel like an end for me. Makes sense. I feel like it really needs to have the full cast or most of the cast just kind of give us that, finale feel, because we need to have this is the end of the Light and Darkness saga, and we need to have some finishes with the story, like how's Cayde going to react to see with Aldrin, and if Aldrin's on the DLC, then it opens up doors for other things. But I feel like a lot, if not all, should be there, and if they ain't, then I expect their story to be explained to why they're not there, or they haven't contributed to what's happening in that DLC. Now, more strikes. More strikes would be lovely. Because I've noticed this kind of goes along with Crucible maps, because I got that point here. Some more Crucible maps as well. I don't play as much Crucible, so it's not really my area to complain about, but I have noticed Crucible maps have turned a back burner. So it would be nice to get a couple of relevant Crucible maps for the DLC, or maybe just some things that are happening in the season of that as a DLC. Or maybe it might be episodes. I'm not sure how they're going to work with the episodes, if the episode's going to release along with the DLC or after the DLC. I'm not sure how it's going to work, but if something related to the DLC would be great. But my main point to the DLC, the strikes. I really like strikes. Strikes are probably my favorite activity in the game, because they're like small, contained stories. They give you some character background, you go to some unique areas. It's very cool. But I think since Beyond Light, and you could quote me here, but actually, yes, let's say this. There's two in Witch Queen, but then Lightfall and Beyond Light, I've only had one, which means we're getting roughly like around 1 to 2 strikes a year. And I don't like that. I want there to be more strikes, because I personally feel like that would make the game bigger. It would just make the game more, like, have different stories. Just that allows it to stretch a little bit more. If I had some strikes where there could be big things that are happening, but they're more self-contained and it's more specific to the characters who are talking, or it could be just a very specific event, like, I don't know, like say it's in Witness's area in the Throne World. Say there's this Scorn who's just doing this, and it allows, say, Mara and Crow to have a bit of a powwow or something. Or maybe Crow and Cade. Something like that. Something just keeps the pot going. Don't know what that phrase was, but we'll just roll with it. And on similar basis, Adventures. If that's even their name. I'm pretty sure they were called Adventures. Adventures was something that were added in Destiny 2, and they were kept going roughly until Forsaken, and then they kind of just disappeared. Basically, small modes, so they're basically they're like missions, but like mini missions that are kind of you can do them for. Yeah, the best way I can describe them is, you know how you do an exotic mission, and you get that one-off mission where it's kind of like special for that quest, and you don't really get it again. That was kind of like an Adventures, where it was kind of these small little stories where you help, say what's his name? You help Hawthorne connect some wires and kill like a boss. It wasn't anything big, but I liked them. I liked when I had nothing to do and I was kind of like just sitting around. It was fun to just go to the EDZ and just complete a couple of them because that was just a fun time to kill, and sometimes the interactions were quite funny. So Adventures, though I believe it would be unlikely for them to return, would be very nice if they did. I personally I really liked them. More armors and weapons. Personally, I believe there's a little too little weapons and armor and specifically in DLCs. For seasons, it makes sense because they're going to be like, season for the armor, like the season armor, then there's the ornaments, and then dungeon or raid armor. Makes sense. If they add any other armor, bonus. I feel like DLCs, if you're spending like £50 to £60 on them, then you need to get more than just one or two armor sets, and that includes raid armor, and maybe some background armor. So maybe like 3 armor sets, and then maybe like two new weapon sets. One being a world one, and one being a DLC one, like the world for that area, and also the raid. I feel like it should have multiple weapons. At least have like 2 weapon sets per DLC, with maybe 2 armor sets with the raid one, and if they have to do like anything else, that as well. I just feel like there should be more armor sets just to mess around with, because I remember a couple of times where I'm like, ooh, this armor would be cool. Like I was cool, but I didn't really like it. And then I looked, there's like, is there any armor? No, because they didn't release any more apart from the world one, which is I just feel like if they just have more armor, like, I know time takes time and effort, but I would appreciate the extra effort, even if some of these weapons are reskins, not complete reskins. A bit like how seasonal weapons have a bit like added to them, but then you can see they have the baseline of another previous season or a DLC weapon. Something along those lines. They don't have to be the completely new design. I'll take a couple of remade designs if it means we get more weapons and a couple more armors. Obviously, they can't be the completely same and then just paste some different colors over. That's a bit of a rip-off. But I would really appreciate the sentiment if they could do that, because that would mean we get more weapons, which means we have more weapons to play with, more perks, combinations, maybe a couple more origin perks, and also for armor people who like to make the best looking armor, they have that, but also have other options for min-maxing their stats, which I think would be a great thing all around. So all those are all things that I personally believe that should be in the next DLC. Whether they happen or not, that's not going to happen down to me. And if you think any different, please let me know in the comments below. And if you agreed with any of this, why not like? It doesn't cost you anything. Why not? And if you liked the video, maybe subscribe, because I might do more of this content with my face. Or if you like my other content, stick around for that. But anyway, thank you guys for watching, and goodbye.